in a well-known place called the Forbidden Zone. There are 2 infants surviving there. They are each raised by the demonic cult and Taoism, respectively. The 2 individuals possess unimaginable innate talent and spiritual constitution since birth. They each became the strongest practitioners of demonic cult Taoism in just 15 years. Driven by the righteous Taoism, they launched a final siege against the demonic cult to seize the treasured artifact, the Luo. The senior brothers fought to the death in resistance. As they were dying, they entrusted the Luo of the demonic cult to me. Today, the demonic cult is thus destroyed. I, Lin, became the last hope of the demonic cult. I am the only one who managed to escape from the entire demonic cult. If I survive, I will surely exterminate Taoism in the future. In order to evade the siege of Taoism, I fled into this dead town 15 years ago. This is a forbidden zone known throughout the world. The air here is filled with corrosive spiritual energy. I arrived at a temple. Injured, I sat on the ground to heal my wounds. This is located in the center of Dead Town. The corrosive energy is strongest here. Others can't resist it at all. Except for the 2 survivors who were originally here. They are not affected by the corrosive energy. One of them is me. The other is also the only person capable of taking my life. At this moment, a red thread scents my hiding place. She is the strongest of the Maeve Taoists. Another baby from 15 years ago. The destined showdown will eventually come. Maeve, have you arrived? The thunderstorm suddenly lit up the entire dead town as I opened my eyes abruptly. A sharp gust of air swept out. I made a final blow using the most powerful sword technique of the demonic cult. When the smoke cleared, there was only Maeve's sword in the field. By the time I realized it was a trap, it was already too late. Maeve suddenly broke through the roof and fell down. The shattered blue tiles flew towards me like sharp blades. I, who was already heavily injured, felt somewhat weak at this moment after using the most powerful sword technique forcefully. Although I managed to intercept the flying debris. But the aftershock of the tile made me moan involuntarily. At this moment, Maeve descended lightly. She landed on her tiptoes. She gathered chi in her palms. Taking the opportunity, she swiftly released it towards me. The chi exploded fiercely on my body. At this moment, I was like a kite with a broken string, uncontrollably flying backwards. When I tried to stand up, I found that my right arm was already crushed. Maeve walked out of the hall slowly, and stared at me lying in the rain pool. Perhaps seeing me taking that blow, she was a bit surprised I could still sit up. She asked me why I chose to embrace the dark magic. Absurd. I was picked up by Master when I was small. Master treated me like his own child. How could I betray him? But your master is already dead. If you are willing to surrender and repent to the deity, Taoism will spare you. Maeve seems to have some pity for me. But I don't need her charity. Besides, my demonic cult has never respected the gods of Taoism. The rain washes away the bloodstains on my body. Today, you killed me. In the future, you will have no rivals. By then, you will be seen as a threat by Taoism. Your fate will not be good. I, Maeve, grew up in Taoism since childhood. I am entrusted with the mission of eradicate demon and safeguard the Tao. Now, the Tao flame has come to me. I should protect it, and not let it be extinguished. Just at this moment, what's behind Maeve startled me. Seeing my terrified expression, Maeve also turned around curiously to look. At that moment, she also froze. She stood there motionless. Just a moment ago, it was a statue of a deity. Now it has turned into a fiend demon, draped in tattered yellow robes. Its body began to twist in the pouring rain. Suddenly, a heavy mist filled the air, despite the thick fog shrouding the entire dead town. Even so, you can still hear the fiend demon emitting a bone-chilling howl. This reminds me and Maeve of something. Elder said the scenes when we were born. That day, white fog shrouded the entire city. When the white fog cleared, the city was full of corpses. Only 2 babies survived. It can be inferred that the disaster that year was caused by this demon. I was suddenly plunged into memories of childhood. On that day, I curiously asked Master why we don't do evil deeds, but instead help the weak and punish the strong. Why are we called the demonic cult? Master said that it was just a label pinned on them by others. A person who can fly over roofs and walls is considered a master. But one day, the Yellow River and Luo River suddenly appeared two beasts. They each carried a book and were discovered by the founders of the demonic cult and Taoism sections. The books recorded a special method of breath regulation. After inheriting it, one could merge a particular qi into the meridians through breath regulation, transforming it into a powerful force. But the good times did not last long. People soon discovered that while qi granted them power, it also corroded and consumed them. The founder of the demonic cult believed that this so-called qi was actually a demonic aura. He advised everyone to stop cultivating. But Taoism is unwilling to accept the truth. Instead, they believe it is a gift bestowed by the deity, firmly believing that they will be able to completely control it in the future. The two sects have become enemies because of this. In order to resist the Taoism demonic cult, even though they know that qi is a demonic aura, they can only cultivate through breath regulation cultivation. They only hope to one day eradicate the source of the demonic aura. When I was young, after listening to it, I was about to go get the method of the Luo cultivate breath regulation. Master stopped me. Lin, aren't you afraid of being contaminated? At that time, I confidently said that I'm not afraid. Eradicating demons is Master's lifelong wish. Master watched my departing figure. You can rest assured and cultivate, Lin. You will not be contaminated, because you are special. Now when you see this demon in front of you, is this the deity you Taoists venerate? Maeve is now in a state of panic. Still disbelief that the deity they venerate would be this kind of demon. In the midst of the pouring rain, I picked up the sword. Stood up with difficulty. Master Lin has not forgotten your teachings. Today, I will root out the impurities and bring about a new life to the world. I rose to my feet tightly grasping a long sword. I lunged forward and struck at the demon. The light sparked by the blade is like exploding stars. Maeve refuses to believe that deity could be such a thing. It must be a demon. Her jade fingers clench silently around the Zhan Palace sword. Taoism is all about eradicating demons and safeguarding the Tao. Now the demon is right in front of her. I, Maeve, how could I turn a blind eye? As descendants of demonic cult and Taoism, we join forces for the first time. Each unleashes a powerful strike. The sword aura is like the only shining lone star in the endless dark night, suddenly illuminating the entire dead town. The rainstorm has stopped. A ray of morning sunlight shines on this messy dead town. I kept watch outside the city all night. Maeve still has not come out. 3 people dressed in Taoist robes entered the city to look for someone. The leader is a graceful figure, a young woman wearing a bamboo hat. She is none other than Master of Taoism sect leader Maeve. The elders searched all the streets in the city, but found no trace of anyone. They looked at the numerous sword marks in front of them. They concluded that this should be the site of the final battle. Look around. Only this statue in the entire ruins is completely intact. Taoism sect leader gazed at the statue, and his red lips quivered slightly. Unfortunately, he was unable to recover the Luo, and Maeve's life and death did not concern her in the slightest. Children are indeed unreliable in doing things. I should personally take action. She turned her head, and still appeared indifferent. She told the elder, who had come with her, to go back. She knew what the elders were thinking. Taoism sect leader stated that Maeve had not died. Intimidated by the sect leader's authority, the elders dared not pursue further questioning and gave up on the search. They followed the sect leader and left this land of right and wrong. When they returned, the eyes veiled by curtains glanced back at the statue. The chill revealed karmic obstruction. At this moment, I felt like a drowning person sinking into endless darkness. The suffocation made me almost lose consciousness. Suddenly, a voice saying, "Karmic obstruction," rang in my ears. I urgently tried to locate the source of the sound. In an instant, I suddenly woke up in a start. Looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, I wondered, where am I? I vaguely remember that I just had a decisive battle with Maeve. Then I encountered something, but I can't recall what it was. I searched my whole body and found that the luo and the sword were missing. The black scales pendant on my chest was also gone. Due to the severe injuries, I couldn't even operate chi. I staggered out of the house along the faint light, wanting to see where I was at the moment. As soon as I stepped out of the house, it felt like I had bumped into something. Since I just woke up, I was severely injured. My weak and feeble body quickly fell to the ground. I opened my eyes in a daze. The backlight was shining into my eyes. I only saw a strand of white hair. Was I saved by a white-haired old lady? I fixed my gaze and finally saw her face clearly. Underneath the snow-white hair was actually a delicate young face of the girl. The girl tidied her thin hair and asked me to follow her to meet the true immortal. White-haired girl walked ahead. I followed her to a wooden corridor and suddenly saw that outside the corridor was a deep cliff with no bottom in sight. The girl said that this place is Shaman's Blessing Lake, and recently, more than half of the lake water has inexplicably evaporated. The sunken ancient courtyard has been revealed. But I have never heard of this place name. I recall Master mentioning that our world is not the only one. Could it be that I have arrived in another world? The girl suddenly tugged at me, which brought me back to my senses. We soon arrived in front of an ancient wooden pavilion. The two bronze beasts at the entrance gave off a creepy vibe. I walked inside the dimly lit wooden pavilion with her, where only a faint candlelight illuminated the interior of the wooden pavilion. I saw a Taoist holding a stone in his left hand and a wooden sword in his right hand, seemingly performing some kind of ritual. In the light of the candle, the Taoist's face, marked with traces, appeared particularly eerie. True Immortal handed the stone to the young boy kneeling in front of him. He asked for the person's full name and surname. Have you ever been married? Have you ever had sexual relations? The young boy tried to conceal the truth and answered that he had never been married. As soon as his words fell silent, the stone held in the palm suddenly buzzed. The wooden sword lifted the sleeve of the young boy, revealing a particularly distinct black and purple fine line. Lies. You have been contaminated by evil objects. Death penalty. True Immortal pierced the boy's chest with a wooden sword in an instant. His speed of sword technique was so fast that even I couldn't see it clearly. It's white-haired girl's turn for the test soon. The girl holds a stone in her hand. My name is Hazel, never been married. When it comes to first sexual experience, her words falter. She suddenly looked at me beside her. My first time was at the age of 18. True Immortal was a little confused. He only found out that Hazel is 14 years old after asking. The knowledgeable True Immortal did not continue to ask more questions. He picked up his pen to record. It seemed as if he had seen her spiritual constitution. When it was my turn to step forward for the test, everything was normal. But just as I handed back the rock, I vaguely saw something squirming. The window was covered with a dark shadow. The thing had crimson pupils. It revealed sharp teeth as if laughing. True Immortal suddenly scolded me. His gaze sharp, he asked me what I was looking at. The thunderstorm raged down. It seems that only I could see the thing in the field. I forced myself to calm down. Calmly, I told True Immortal about the heavy rain falling. At this moment, True Immortal also harbored doubts. This kid. Could it be that he saw my inner demon? But looking at my calm appearance doesn't seem like he saw anything. Perhaps he's overthinking it. True Immortal is the chief worshipper of the Witch clan. When cultivating a cloudy peak, he can be called True Immortal Cloud. He dispersed the crowd in the field, leaving only the four of us. Tell me why we have come here. At the bottom of Shaman's Blessing Lake lies the guardian deity revered by the Witch clan. The guardian deity bestows powerful lineage upon the witch clan. It promises that after its demise, its power will be inherited by the witch clan. In exchange, members of the witch clan must guard the deity by the lake for generations. The guardian deity once prophesied that its life could extend until next year. But 10 days ago, he was killed. 10 days ago, lightning pierced the sky. The water of Shaman's blessing lake evaporated in large quantities, forming an unprecedented white mist. After the white mist dispersed, the people of Witch Clan discovered that there were 2 extremely deep sword marks added to the statue. Subsequently, they discovered the hidden divine path next to the statue. The Witch Clan decided to have the eldest young master, second young master, and third miss enter to explore and inherit the power of the deity. And we 4 were the ones chosen by the altar. Half a month later, 3 of us will serve as acolytes to protect the Witch Clan and enter the divine abode together to obtain divine power. If all goes well, we may even gain the power to ascend to the realm between humanity and divinity. After saying the words, "Leaving tomorrow to personally teach us magic," the candlelight extinguished and True Immortal Cloud disappeared without a trace. A chilly wind blew as the Witch Clan's grand mansion stood before you, with a short old man holding an umbrella at the doorstep. Walking towards you was none other than True Immortal Cloud. The old man spoke. "Shaman found a sword at the cliff below. A sword of mortals." Comparing the sword marks left by the statue, they realized that the sword was highly likely the weapon used to kill the guardian deity. True Immortal Cloud was suddenly shocked when he heard this. What a person the swordmaster must be if a mere mortal sword could slay a deity. I am currently in the room trying to operate chi, but my injury is too severe. It's so severe that even chi cannot recover. It seems like I must quickly retrieve my sword. Fatal testimony. I am a sword cultivator. If I don't have my sword, my power will be greatly reduced. The next day dawned. True Immortal Cloud came to impart a mental cultivation method secret technique. Before, several people did not have spirit meridians. At the moment of awakening, Altar had helped them connect their spirit meridians. Looking at the chi flowing in their meridians after they opened them, it is not much different from the chi in the world I was in before. After True Immortal Cloud passed on the Tao formula to a few of us, he instructed us to cultivate diligently in order to condense the pill as soon as possible. After saying that, he disappeared with a swish, just like a ghost, and was nowhere to be seen. I was curious and asked what Hazel condensation pill meant. From her mouth, I learned that condensation pill is the cultivator's first realm. There are a total of 4 realms. They are divided into meridian unblocking, condensation pill, divine vision, and the realm between humanity and divinity. Cultivators can meditate in the void. They can perceive a white center point in their body. When enough chi converges, it will form a white chi pill. This is the condensation pill. After listening, I sat down on the ground. I can indeed feel a center point. But why is my center not white, but pitch black instead? When I opened my eyes again, I saw Hazel looking at me. She pointed back and forth with her 2 fingers, looking a bit unsure. She asked softly if she could cultivate together with me. But she was rejected by me in one breath. The reason is that I am too injured. The spirit meridian cannot operate. There is currently no way to cultivate. Hazel, upon learning that I cannot cultivate, surprisingly didn't care at all. She said as long as she could sit next to me, it was enough for her. On the side, Henry, who is cultivating, saw me being so indifferent, while Hazel scolded me as heartless and cruel. From his mouth I learned that Hazel owes me a life-saving favor. Originally, all 3 of them were summoned to the altar at the edge of the cliff. But I don't know why I fell below the cliff. In that moment, Hazel suddenly had an intuition that made her want to go down and take a look. She was the one who rescued me after I fell off the cliff. It seems that I must repay Miss Hazel generously in the future. 3 days have passed in the blink of an eye. Henry and the others have successively cultivated the condensation pill. I found a secluded mountain. I continued to try cultivating the condensation pill, but the results were all failures. Chi flows into the center, like being engulfed by a black hole. At this rate, I won't even have the ability to protect myself. It's even more hopeless to return to the world I had before. Damn it. Despite being the strongest in the demonic cult, I'm still helpless. Just then, Hazel suddenly found me alone on the mountain. She doesn't know why either. Anyway, she always manages to find me. This is the first time I've taken a close look at her. I took a closer look and realized she is quite pretty. And Hazel seems to be able to read my mind at a glance. She directly asked me if I think she is attractive. This question seems to be very important to her. She insisted that I answer. Just then, True Immortal Cloud walked over, looking rather displeased. I can't be bothered with your personal affairs. But if you dare to deflower her, you will surely die. Then he immediately told us to go down and gather. Today, he is coming to inspect the results of our cultivation. True Immortal Cloud looked at Hazel, and the other two with satisfaction. They are truly the disciples chosen by the guardian deity. In just 3 days, they have already surpassed the majority of geniuses with enough condensation pills. He criticized me severely. He could see that the chi in my body was not flowing smoothly. He presented the birdcage in front of us and asked us to touch it. The finch inside the cage would assess a person's level of spiritual constitution through its chirping. It's not just any sparrow. This is the most precious bird of the witch clan. Its body carries the long-extinct bloodline of the ancient white phoenix. After assessment, Henry's spiritual constitution aptitude is excellent. Jameson's spiritual constitution aptitude is above average. Hazel's spiritual constitution aptitude is also above average. When it was my turn to step forward for testing, I vaguely felt a very familiar aura emanating from this little finch. When I reached out to touch it, White Finch saw the white eyes Black Phoenix Sword Sutra inside my body. It was so frightened that its whole body trembled, not daring to make a sound. True Immortal Cloud saw that White Finch did not make a sound. He directly judged that my aptitude was poor. Besides me knowing that White Finch didn't chirp because of fear, Hazel also saw that the little bird was afraid of me. Growing up in the mountains since she was young, Hazel can perceive the emotions of birds. That's why she was raised by her aunt. Her aunt said she was originally a young lady from a big family. But for some reason, she was persecuted by her family. So her aunt took her to the mountains to escape. She has been quite afraid since her aunt is no longer with her. But now that I am here, she is no longer afraid. I don't know why she treats me like this. Could it be because I am the one she saw in that vision that day? In White Finch's judgment, among several people, Henry has the best innate talent. True Immortal Cloud has prepared a fortune for him. He then brought him to a mysterious treasure pavilion, allowing him to choose a magical artifact or secret manual. At this time, the elderly man from the witch clan found True Immortal Cloud. The conversation between the two was overheard by Henry inside the house. The old man nervously told True Immortal Cloud that the witch had died last night. Before her death, the witch cast another divination. Let the old man pass on the message to True Immortal Cloud that Henry was in the house listening, sweating profusely. True Immortal Cloud suddenly turned around at this moment. He asked Henry to take the item and go back first. The final hexagram cast by the witch predicts that True Immortal Cloud, who has achieved great success in cultivation, will soon be killed. I am currently having a meal with Jameson and Hazel. Jameson curiously brought up the matter of Hazel having a spiritual constitution. The so-called spiritual constitution is a special ability. One of his uncles was born blind, but luckily awakened the eye's spiritual constitution. Although his uncle is blind, he can not only see the world clearly, but also some supernatural things with the help of his spiritual constitution. Knowing that the spiritual constitution is so powerful, I am curious about what Hazel's spiritual constitution is. Hazel blushed and lowered her head. True Immortal Cloud said it was the Foresight spiritual constitution. Sometimes, she will have flashes of future scenes in her mind. For example, when she was first tested, True Immortal Cloud asked her about the first time. I asked her with great interest if she had seen that person clearly. Upon hearing this, the blush on her face deepened. She hurriedly said she was full and got up to leave. Just as Hazel left, Henry came running over, gasping for breath. Henry told the two of us the secret he heard today. The witch predicted two things. One of them is that True Immortal Cloud is going to die. He is going to be killed. Another thing is that the witch clan is going to cause chaos in the heavens. The crazy witch is about to die. Before her death, she claimed to have seen the source of the disaster and sketched the vague figure of a girl. Just by looking at her silhouette, she is terrifyingly beautiful. What's even more bizarre is that the girl has white hair all over her head. White hair. Upon hearing it, I was suddenly shocked. Among the entire witch clan, the only one I have seen with white hair is Hazel. So I asked the two of them, why not let Hazel come and listen to this secret too? When it comes to Hazel Jameson, she actually said my taste is quite unique. Although Hazel sticks to you all day long, you don't really like her, do you? I was completely confused by what you said. I don't dislike her. Why do you ask, Jameson? Henry also said at this time that Hazel is young. She has an average appearance and figure. If she were placed in his mansion, she might not even be qualified to be a maid. What? The two of them actually said that Hazel looks average. Does it mean that in the eyes of others, Hazel is a different person? This is even more shocking to me. Could it be that the white-haired girl prophesied by the witch is her? Someone suddenly patted my shoulder. I turned around to look, and it was Hazel. What are you guys whispering about secretly? Looking at her appearance, even I would be moved. But the vigorous Henry and Jameson show no interest in her. I finally understand why she asked me if she was pretty at that time. Was she testing me with such a question? I have to find a way to get out first before doing anything else. Then, I immediately doubled over in pain, pretending to feel unwell due to a recurring old injury, and collapsed to the ground. Henry and a few others quickly helped me back to the room to rest. Hazel touched my forehead and told me to take care of my injury and not to practice Cultivate anymore. Soon after, she went outside to help me boil some hot water. Just when I thought I had deceived everyone, Jameson saw through my act of pretending to be sick on purpose. He just examined my body and said that it's just the circulation of chi that is not smooth, not a recurrence of the old injury. At this moment, I am thinking about the secret that Henry mentioned today. They must keep this secret to themselves and not let Hazel know. I hastily made up that this is the punishment True Immortal Cloud gave me. Because of jealousy towards your innate talent, I slandered you behind your back. Then True Immortal Cloud heard about it. Henry, furious after hearing it, scolded me as a despicable person and angrily vowed to tell Hazel about this matter. I watched his bulky figure about to leave. I told him if he wanted to die, he could go ahead. The witch's prophecy says True Immortal Cloud is going to die. The witch clan will be in disorder. Only you have heard these words. Does True Immortal Cloud allow you to treat these secrets as a joke? In his eyes, we are all just ants. Upon hearing these words, Henry is really scared. He remembered his brother being killed by True Immortal Cloud at the ceremony. In the end, both Henry and Jameson promised to keep the secret to themselves. They also agreed not to mention to Hazel that I pretended to have a relapse of an old injury. Walking out of the room, the two of them happened to meet Hazel returning. Hazel frowned, wanting to ask what they had talked about when they were together earlier. Henry and the others calmly said they didn't talk about much, just shared some stories. Little did they know that Hazel behind them had a momentary murderous intent. I lay on the bed, lost in thought. No, I have to put on a show to dispel her suspicions. That's the only way I'll be safe. Just then, Hazel walked in carrying the cold water. I circled my arm around her waist with one hand and gently held her hand with the other. I was surprised that Hazel didn't resist either. Her delicate face slightly flushed. Her watery eyes gazed at me. She looked at me without saying a word. She bit her lip. What's wrong with you after all? Took a deep breath. I put on a serious look. I thought I was going to die just now. So all I could think about was you. I'm so afraid of losing you. Hazel would never easily believe such absurd and bizarre remarks about her dressing modestly and not being pretty. How could she compare to the real fairies outside? Looking at her like a tender narcissus, pristine without a speck of dirt, I firmly told her, "You are beautiful in my heart." Hazel squinted her eyes, pretending to be angry, and said, "So what you mean is, I am not beautiful if I am not in your heart." She then let out a light hum, saying I was slick-tongued, and suggested that I should focus on recovering from my injury. Without a glance back, she walked out the door. She casually closed the door, not giving me a chance to explain. Leaning against the wooden door, the angry expression on her face slowly faded away. A slight smile unconsciously formed at the corner of her lips. The next day, when I woke up, I found that yesterday when I pretended to be sick, Jameson's exploration of my chi actually promoted the healing of my injury. It seems like I can trick others into using their chi to heal myself again. I thought about the reason why White Finch was afraid of me that day during the test. Is there any connection between White Eye's Black Phoenix Sword Sutra and White Finch? Master said that Black Phoenix is the lord of the Void Realm. It is born from water, taking shape when it encounters the wind, bathed in the thunder of the heavens and the fire of the earth, taking them as wings. When I asked Master whether this is a myth, why is there no record of it in the classic of mountains and seas? Master said, "A true deity will not be confined within human words, because it is one of the original symbols itself. Here are water, wind, thunder, fire, cloud, and light. After cultivating through the 6 layers in front of him, he will be able to possess the power to control these elements. The power of breaking the void, nirvana, and erasing the shadow in the 3 layers behind him is immeasurable. But I have already reached the 8th layer. Not to mention breaking the void or nirvana, I don't even sense the power of the first 6 realms. I have been stuck at the 8th layer for a long time, and have been unable to break through. Unexpectedly, in these few days, I have felt the bottleneck loosening slightly. If I can break through to the 9th layer, I believe I will be able to protect myself in this world." Hazel, who brought me food, happened to see me cultivating. Because it didn't seem like the mental cultivation method Tao formula taught by True Immortal Cloud, she curiously asked me what I was cultivating. When I said that I was practicing the Sword Sutra that Master gave me, Hazel seemed surprised that I would understand the Sword Sutra. In this world, the Sword Sutra is a very powerful and precious thing. Because the evil god of the sea and the dragon corpse deep in the earth have been invading the human race. They almost forced out the Dharma body left by the ancestors of the human race. They are the biggest enemies of the human race. They must use swords engraved with divine patterns or ancestral seals to kill them. Hazel eyes have different colors. Ask me what the Sword Sutra is called. Looking at her with snow-white hair in front of me, I renamed White Eye's Black Phoenix Sword Sutra. It is now called White Snow, Flowing Cloud Sword Sutra. Hazel blushed slightly after hearing it. She thought the name was quite picturesque. In addition, this is a sex secret that cannot be passed on, so I can only hide in the room to cultivate. After Hazel listened, she kept asking me, why am I willing to tell her this secret? Is it because I don't regard her as an outsider? Her gaze was fixed on me, wanting to get an answer. Seeing her like this, I used the Sword Sutra as bait, pretending to ask her if she was interested in this set of Sword Sutra. Hazel is a little shy. She quietly said, she is not particularly interested. Since you are not interested, forget it. Hazel listened but became anxious. You said this was a secret that should not be passed on. Are you going to break the family rules and teach me anyway? Of course, I can accept disciples on behalf of my master. Once you join my sect, you will be my junior sister. then I can legitimately pass on the Sword Sutra to you. When I think about being your junior sister Hazel, I seem to resist it a bit. I don't want to be your junior sister. But after a struggle in her mind, in order to learn the Sword Sutra, she blushed and called me senior brother. Since she has called me that, before teaching her the Sword Sutra, we decided to have a friendly match first. Hazel has assumed a good stance. Senior brother should be careful. I am very strong. She launched a fierce attack against me with light footsteps. Relying on my instinct, I responded to her moves. She always manages to defend against me. Hazel seems to have underestimated me a bit. I counterattacked. Hazel was startled and quickly threw a punch at me. Dodging the punch, I countered by giving her a strong push on the shoulder with Iron Mountain Palm, catching her off guard and causing her to lose balance and fall backward. She lay on the bed looking somewhat bewildered. She hadn't even realized how she had lost yet. Senior brother is really amazing. Her competitive spirit is once again aroused. She uses even more sharp moves, bull rushing towards me. But the result is the same. Her seemingly impenetrable offense. I can always find her weak spots, resulting her attacks time and time again. In Hazel's world, swordsmanship and magic are dominant, while martial arts are underestimated and ranked last. But in my original world, there was originally no cultivation. People focused on cultivating their own physical bodies. The martial arts that have been passed down. They are all techniques developed between life and death. And I had already mastered these peak martial arts practices before the age of 7. Although Hazel's moves are ruthless, she still falls short in pure hand-to-hand combat. She, who never easily concedes defeat, her eyes flashing with a fierce light, charges towards me once again with anger. Seeing such a fierce junior sister, I decided to teach her a lesson. I hit the branch in my hand towards her back. The moment the scene fell silent, I realized that I had acted too heavily. Hazel bit her lip. She raised her slightly red eyes and stared back at me. Seeing her expression like this, when she pounced at me again, I did not choose to dodge. Her disheveled snowy hair fell as she pounced into my arms, like this. Her fists kept beating on my chest. I could only give in and comfort her by saying, "Junior sister, be good. It was senior brother's fault." Hazel, who was leaning against my chest, seemed to have calmed down a bit. She asked why I didn't fight back just now, and I couldn't help teasing her. Junior sister is acting coquettish. How can I bear to lay a hand on her? These words caused Hazel to blush in shyness. Although there was still some unwillingness in her heart, she still admitted defeat. At the same time, she was a little puzzled as to why senior brother was so powerful. The techniques I just used all come from the Sword Sutra, so naturally you are no match for me. If I complete the White Snow, Flowing Cloud Sword Sutra, can I be as powerful as senior brother? Of course, and you will be even stronger than me, seeing how I trust you to impart the sect's secret manual. Hazel thought. She probably doesn't need to doubt me anymore. After dispelling her doubts, Hazel sincerely thanked me and expressed that she would practice diligently. Seemingly thinking of something, she curiously inquired about the location of our sect. The sect is right here. I was brought here by altar before. The sect has been destroyed by a hostile faction. I am the only one left alive. So wherever I am, that's where the sect is. So that's how it is. Hazel clenched her fists after hearing it. Now senior brother is not alone. I will help you revitalize the sect. By the way, senior brother, what is the name of our sect? Hazel asked a good question. Our sect is called Ha One Sect.